Welcome back to Hippie Bliss Travel. Today we're continuing in the Redwood Forest. The last video we were kind of way up north. Now we're going to kind of be in the central part of the Redwood Forest. And our first stop is Ladybird Johnson Grove. And a little history on the Ladybird Johnson Grove is that it was dedicated in 1969, and Ladybird Johnson is recognizing her for her work in preserving public lands. It's a relatively easy walk. Um, I think that what they say. Let me get my little sheet here from the National Forest here. Ladybird Johnson Grove. It's 1.5 mile loop. It's a 45 minute to an hour and 25 minute a long walk, and the elevation goes up 100 feet. It's old growth redwoods. And yeah, there was a parking lot, but as you can see, it was pretty full and pretty small. And we were there pretty early in the morning. It's, before 10 a.m. It was our first stop of many of the day. But yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful walk. And one of the things that we liked about it is we saw multiple of these trees that were burnt, and they're hollow in the middle, but they're still standing. And then you look at the top, and they got fresh growth on them. They're still living. And you saw multiples of those on the trail, not just here, but throughout the entire redwoods. Originally, the Redwood Forest covered over 2 million acres of the California coast, but by the early 1900s, extensive clear cutting had destroyed about half. How quiet it is. But yet you can hear the birds.
Well, you can hear the birds because it's so quiet.
Look at that big tall one right there. Here we are in the center of the Ladybird Johnson Grove with all the trees. Here's the elevated look. And yeah, we were at the Ladybird Johnson Grove, but up there's trails that connect the entire park, so you can walk uh, connecting these locations. So yeah, Elk Meadow is one of the ones we're going to hit later on this afternoon. But where it says it was 3 miles, they're talking 3 miles of the hiking trail, and yes, 1,200 feet descent and elevation while hiking the trail. But you can spend days just hiking from one spot to another, even though we drove to all these locations. And again, here's more of the burnt out trees. All beautiful because they're all still growing on top. I mean, people talk about surviving these trees, man. It's big enough you could walk in there. Wow. So here start the roots. I go up to the tree. It's going to lean way back to see the top. We're back to the bridge where it all started. after we left the Lady Bird Johnson Grove, we headed to the coast to the Klamath River overlook, where basically the Klamath River meets the Pacific Ocean. But you get a stunning view and a little incredible drive up there with the coast right there with the drop off. My husband's like, I'm just concentrating on the driving. I'll look at the view when we get to the top. And what a view it is. I mean, especially with a clear day like it is. Now in the picture, the little white in the middle, those were actually whales. And the only reason we knew is because we got the binoculars we had with us out. The cameras, you couldn't really tell. Um, you knew something was out there, but with the binoculars we could see there were whales. And this is looking south from there. And the Klamath River is kind of would be off to your left. There is a trail that hikes down to the water, and we thought about taking it, but then we go, well, then we got to hike back up. And we knew we had wanted to do some more hiking today, so we debated for about 15 minutes and decided to pass on the hike down to the water. And then after we left the overlook, we were going to drive the Coastal Drive, which is it's kind of a one-way road right along the coast. There's no motorhomes or trailers allowed. So we headed back. That's where we were headed. But first, we stopped at the High Bluff Overlook, which is on the way to the Coastal Drive. It's pretty much right next to it. Again, another spectacular view. Yeah, again, we joked, can we just build a house right here and this be our view? It would be nice, but. And here we are off again. And we're on the Coastal Drive. You see, it's really just one lane. It, I think if I remember where we're going, you're driving south to north along the road. We were like the only ones there. We didn't see anyone. We didn't pass anyone parked over, except for I think it was a tribal police was parked kind of almost at the end. I think he was kind of making sure people weren't coming the other way because it was close to the other end. You get peekaboo views of the ocean. So it was great for me as a passenger. I got to sit there, take it all in, and ooh and ah. My husband's like, nope, concentrating on the road, get a little glimpse here and there. There is a parking spot coming up that we pulled over and got out. But there wasn't a whole lot of places to pull over to get out, so and it was closer toward the end. And here's that viewpoint I said that we pulled over and got out and then took all the scenery in. And here was that one vehicle, and it was some sheriff. I think it was a tribal sheriff, it said on the side. But he's the only car we passed on the entire, or we saw. Nobody came up behind us. We didn't catch up to anybody. And we're coming up to the end of the one-way traffic, or the end of the section of the Coastal Drive. As we pulled over here, we're not sure why the cross was there. We didn't want to interrupt the gentleman's moment. And I think we're heading to Elk Meadow next. But on the drive there, they had multiple locations where you could just pull over and there was trails you could hike. And again, if you walked far enough down, the trails connected. But we just thought we'd get out and walk a different trail and kind of see where it went. After we crossed this bridge and we headed down the trail, the overgrowth got a little more thicker than we wanted. I'm assuming by the end of the summer, people hiking through there will, you know, won't be as overgrown as it looks right now. So we didn't walk too far down the trail. We turned around after a few, maybe 5, 10 minutes, and headed back to the car. And here we are at Elk Meadow on the right here. And this is where at the Ladybird Johnson Trail, where it said it was a 3 mile hike and you dropped 1200 in elevation, this is where you would come out. They do have restrooms, a gift shop, a picnic area, and at the end, connected to it, is a campground. And of course, we had to stop at the big tree after we left the Elk Meadow and saw the big tree. It's what they say, about 1500 years old. They have multiple visitor center, and this was another one with the Redwood National Forest. And we stopped at this one just because it was on the coast. We wanted to see, the coast. And then we went into Eureka and explored Eureka a little bit. We went to the Old Town section, and we were finding somewhere for like a late lunch, early dinner. Humboldt Smokehouse. We found a fabulous barbecue spot. Great food. I mean, I think there was two people working, one cashier and the other cook. They made their own sauces, and oh, it was a wonderful, wonderful lunch. And then we walked around, and then we got noticing, I think it was on this sign, Eureka has over 100 murals. Now, we didn't go looking for all 100 murals, but we found quite a few just by the walking we did this day, and then We also walked around the next day downtown, Old Town, for another place for dinner. But yeah, this is just some of the murals that we found wandering the town. And what we liked about the murals is they were all different. It wasn't like there was a cohesive theme. They were just beautiful, and some were, on the walls, some were big, some were small. These are not trash cans, but the little electrical boxes and stuff out on the streets. Thank you for watching Hippie Bliss Travel. If you made it to the end, give us a like and a subscribe, and hope to see you next week. Bye.